Vertical lighthall. Allow. Okay, so like I said, we're gonna recreate this design today. And the first thing we want to do is to get a frame. And the frame we're going to be using is a desktop frame. So here it is. And the next thing we want to do, like I said from yesterday's class, is to name our frame. So we're just going to say D2 to this. And the next thing we do is to set our grid. So the grid, we're going to change it to column grid. And the count is going to be 12. And the stretch is going to be 120. And the gutter is going to be 10. Now, if you've been able to set your grid, please let me know in the comments if you've done it. I'm just going to leave the value so that you can see it. I'm going to go to the comments and see what's in the comments. Hi, Paul. Okay, Madeline, you had a hard time holding both stuff together. Okay, I'm going to talk about that later. As we design this, you're going to see how to do that. Big heads, you can watch my previous video where I talked about what UI UX is. So if you've done the grid, if you've done your grid, the count is 12, the margin is 120, and the gutter is 10. If you've done it, just put done in the comment section, so comments, so that I would know. Okay, done. That's very good. Now that we have the grid in place, I'm just going to turn it off. And the first thing we want to do is to create a logo for this website. Basically, the website is a website where we can find therapists. So we're going to call this website Mental. Get your text tool and type Mental. And make sure you highlight everything. And then make the text size to be 40. Also, change the font weight to bold. We're going to be using Poppins today and not Inter, so make sure you change that to Poppins. I'm going to turn on the grid so we know how we align our logo, Mental. Now today what I did for you guys is to create the colors. I already got them, so it's easy for us to, see the colors rather than yesterday where we were having issues with, calling out the colors. So in here, if you've done this, just type done in the comments. Now we're going to change the fill to linear. And for the first one, we're going to use this color, the light blue up here. And then the second one, we're going to use the dark blue. I'm just going to zoom in and turn off the grid so you guys can see it. If you already have the Mental, if you already have this, make sure to let me know in the comments. Just type logo done in the comments if you've already done it. Okay, great. So we're going to move on to creating more navigations here. I'm going to turn on the grid back on just here and get the text tool, and I'm going to type about us. Now, about us, we're going to use, remember we're using Poppins today. We'll change the bold to semi-bold and change the size to 16. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see it properly. Now to this text, you're going to duplicate it. Remember, hold Alt and drag it out on a Windows PC, and on a Mac, hold Option and just drag it out. Then we're going to type our services. We'll duplicate this twice. The next one would be articles. And then the next one would be resources. So if you have all of this together, just hold them together. And up here in the alignment panel, you're going to click this option and then click on distribute horizontal spacing. Now we're going to set the spacing here from 41 to 25. And then we're going to add an auto layout to it. We'll change the auto layout because we don't want it to align this way. So we're going to change it to the center. If you've been able to do this, achieve this, just let me know in the comments. Now, Princess, you're talking about the colors. Here are the colors and here are the numbers. So if you've done this, if you've done the navigation for About Us, our services, articles, and resources, let me know in the comments. Okay, I'm going to repeat the alignment part. So when you have all of the elements, I'm going to undo this. So ungroup. And let's say I'm going to scatter this and just keep them at random places like this. Now let's say they're this way. So I'm going to hold all of them together and go to the alignment panel here and then align it to the vertical centers. And then click on the more options and distribute them horizontally. Now the spacing is 37 right now, so we're going to change it to 25. And then we'll add an auto layout. Now, when we add an auto layout, we're going to change the alignment and padding to the center. Make sure you change it to the center. And that's it. If you've done that, please let me know in the comments. Hi, Wale. You're just joining. You can join us from wherever you meet us, and we just continue. What we've done is just to type mental, and we added the colors, light blue and the dark blue here. So great, guys. You guys have done that. So the next thing we're going to do is to create a button. And for the button, first you get your text tool, and then we're going to type join as a practitioner. Practitioner. Okay. Now, if you have that, we'll change the font weight to 16 and also change the font type to semi-bold. Now, if you have this already, what you're going to do is to Control G, group it, and then add an auto layout to it. Now, when you do add an auto layout to the text, make sure to place it in the center. And then add a padding here of 12. Having done that, add a corner radius of 30. And then we're going to add a stroke. Of course, I'm going to repeat the bottom part. So the stroke, we're going to change the stroke to 1.8 thicker. Now we have this button right here. So we're going to do it again. But before we do that, I want us to edit this button because I want more spacing inside of it, like more padding. So I'm just going to move it a little bit and change the numbers here to 220. Okay, now we're going to create another button again, and I'm going to repeat this. We're going to do this process again. So take your text tool and click on log and type login/register. Now you have this text. Make sure the text is aligned to the center. Wisdom, I'm repeating the bottom part again. Just type login/register, align it to the center. Now group it, Control G or Command G on a Mac, or you can just right click and click on group selection. And then after you group it, make sure to add an auto layout. Now on the auto layout, change the alignment and padding to the center, and then add a padding of 12 to it. Now, if you've done that, let me know in the comments if you've done the login/register part. Just write login done. We're using 1.8 stroke because we want the lines to be thicker. Because say for example, if we change this to a 0.8, the lines are going to be thinner. So we want it to be thicker. That's why we're using 1.8 EWA and not 2.0. So if you've done that, big heads, you can use a rectangle, but it is not scalable to use a rectangle in creating a button. And you would understand that mostly when you're working with a developer who has to develop your work. So this is the better way to do it than using a rectangle and then putting your text inside. So if you've done this, go ahead and put a corner radius of 30%. Now we're going to put a fill. Click on the fill plus sign, and then change the solid to linear. Now make sure to set it this way. The first one, for the first color, we're going to use this deep kind of blue here. And then the second one, we're going to use this purple here. So what we're going to do next is to change the black to white. And then the text is too close to the container, so we have to adjust it a little bit. We're just going to make this 170. This looks better. So if you've been able to achieve this, please let me know in the comments if you've done the button. Okay, great. We're going to add effect to it. And the effect is going to be drop shadow. And for the drop shadow, the blur is going to be 20. The Y direction will be 10. And the opacity is going to be 10. But we're going to change the color of the button. We don't want to use black. So we're going to change it to 6305D7. If you've done this, I'm going to keep this drop shadow so you can see the color here. If you've done this, just write done. Just write done in the comments. Okay, great. Okay, great. Well, I'm going to go a little bit slower. If you're lost, just let me know in the comments if you're lost, where you're lost, and how I can find you. Rabin. If I'm going too fast, just let me know where you're lost, and I'm going to try to see if I can find you. So have you been able to get the button? If you've done it, just write down in the comments. Oh, great. Okay. Where are you lost, Edakwo? Where are you lost? This is the color. Take note of the colors. I'm showing the colors right now so you can copy them. Oluwafemi. Femi, you can copy the colors. Okay, great. Now, if you've been able to do the buttons, make sure to hold both of these buttons here, and then add an auto layout to it. Now, the spacing between the buttons, we're going to change the spacing to 16. Make sure to change it to 16. And then move it to the end right here. Now what you do next is hold the logo. Remember what I said about naming our frames and our layers yesterday. So we're going to name everything today. So for this, we're going to change it to logo. And for this, we're going to change it to nav info. And this, we're going to change it to buttons. Now, if you've done all of that, just going to skip this. Hold all three of the elements and then click on the option key here and distribute it horizontally. Now, after doing that, make sure to click on auto layout and then change it from this alignment to the center right there. If you've been able to achieve this, let me know in the comments. Let's see what's happening here in the comments. Abdul is just joining and doesn't know what to do. Abdul, basically we just started, so what we've just done is the logo, the text, navigation, and some buttons. So we still have a whole lot to do. You can join us right now, like from wherever you joined us. Okay, so I'm gonna go over this one more time. First, starting with the logo, the font, the typeface is Poppins, the font is bold, and the size is 40. And we added a linear to it. And basically, we use these two colors here, the first one and the second one. So the first one is at the top, the second one is at the bottom. Now for the text here, we're going to change this absolute black to this black color here. And what we did here, the text size is 16 and the font weight is semi-bold. And for the buttons, here we're also going to change the black color from absolute black to this shade of black that we have here. Now in your computer, we can save these colors so that we don't have to use the color picker all the time. So if we want to do that, just click on any of the elements, and in here where you have the fill tool, you see those buttons here where you have styles, these 4 buttons. Just click on it and then click plus, create style, and then you can say black. So you don't have to like impute the color code over and over again, just and create style. Also for these colors that we use for the logo, so we have 2 colors here. You can basically just bring out a triangle and input this color and just click the same thing. Just click style, click plus, and then you can name it, say, dark blue, for example, and then create style. So we don't have to, check it over and over and over. Same thing for this. Just click plus, say light blue, for example, and then create style. And also with the gradient that we created here. So for this gradient here, you click plus, and then you can call it purple gradient and create style. So if you've done that, let me know in the comments if you've been able to save those styles. So if you do save them, you can see the color styles here, and you don't have to check it all the time, like use the color picker to do it. Raman says, how do you determine the value to use for the drop shadow? Usually the drop shadow, you want to make it not harsh. Your shadow shouldn't be harsh. So you don't want to use very big values depending on what you're doing. So it just has to do it. You looking at it, you don't want it to be too harsh. Okay, great. So I'm gonna turn on the grid again, and now I'm gonna take my frame and create a frame basically to house all of these elements that we've created here. I'm just gonna resize the frame to suit what I want for the navigation. So I'm gonna change the height to 40. Okay. So for this frame that I created, I'm just gonna name it navigation first, and then reduce the size of the frame. Okay, Yukara says, please, Ma, how to create the gradient for the purple color. Okay, the same way we did it for the logo, that's how we did it. Can we use rectangle for this as well? It's better to use auto layout for this rather than using the rectangle. So yeah. Okay, so let's move on. The height of this frame, we're going to change it to 110, and then we would align this to the center and make sure it is aligned to the vertical centers. Okay, great. Now we have our navigation in place. For the navigation frame, just click on frame and then draw it out. The size is 1440 by 110, and the spacing from the top is 25 25. So it's 25 25 top and bottom, and the sides is 120 120. Okay, so now that we have that in place, I'm just gonna turn off the grid, and what I'm gonna do is take a frame. Okay, guys, so we're just gonna move on and take the frame tool and create a frame. And the frame, we're gonna add, the size is gonna be 40, and we're gonna add the fill. So remember, we already had our styles saved, so we're gonna use this dark blue here for the frame. And now we're gonna add a text. So before we add the text to this, I want us to get a plugin that we're going to be using. It's a plugin for dummy text. So basically, we're not going to be typing a lot of text. We can just use dummy text for now. Like I said in the previous class, a content strategy creates the content for this. We're not creating text. So just go to your Figma file and click on community, and make sure you search for Lorem Ipsum, and click on plugin right here, and then install the Lorem Ipsum plugin in your system, in your Figma. So if you've done that, we're going to install a second plugin, which is called Unsplash. So you're just going to search for Unsplash because we're going to use it to get the images that we want. And then make sure you install Unsplash in your system as well. Now, if you've got the two plugins, just let me know in the comments and say done. So I know that you already got the plugins. Okay, great. Now, if you've already done that, we're going to get a text tool and then right click. Make sure you go to plugins and click on Lorem Ipsum. It's going to run. And then just create a sentence, say one sentence, and generate it. Now, if you've done this, please let me know in the comments if you've been able to do this. Now, this text that we've done, we're going to cut it and just place it in frame. Now, this frame, when we do that, change the color to white. Just press F, and then make sure you center this text. Now, this frame that we have here, we're going to name it as our divider. And let's assume this text has some of the text where we say view all. And for the view all, we would put an underline to this to make it look like it's a link. And then we're going to reduce the font size of the rest of the text. So, remember what we talked about hierarchy? So we're going to change this to regular text. And then make sure you highlight everything. Make sure it's in the center. And you've centered it. Now, if you've been able to do this, please let me know in the comments. Just put done in the comments so I know that you've been able to do it. Great. Now, the next thing we're going to do is to create the hero image. So first things first, we're going to get the frame. We're going to use a frame again. And we're just going to draw a frame here. Now, I want to put back on our grid so that we can see what we're doing. I'm going to put a stroke, even though I don't need it for now, but basically to guide our eyes with what we want to, create. And the width of this, we're going to set it to 770. And the height is going to be 560. And we're going to change the corner radius from 0 to 5. And what we're going to do is to right click and search for the Unsplash plugin and then run the plugin. Now we're going to search for happy people in the plugin and just scroll down to this where you see this colorful image of this lady and just put it inside of the frame. And now if you've done that, take out the stroke and let me know in the comments if you've been able to do the image. So just write hero image done in the comments if you've been able to achieve this. Hero image done, not just done. Just write hero image done so I know where you are, what you've been able to do. Okay, great. Now that we have this in place, we're going to create another frame. So just click on the frame tool and we're going to draw another frame again. I'm going to add a stroke just to guide our eyes. I'll put back on our grid so we know where to place it. And now this frame, we're going to change the width size to 548. And then the height is going to be 428. And the corner radius will be 5. Now, if you've done that, we're going to add a fill to this frame. Just click on the plus sign and then change the color from white to this color right here. F8, F8, FF. Now, remember what we talked about saving the colors so we can reuse them. So you just click on style and you click the plus icon and then you can say pale purple or something. Pale, let's call it pale. Now that we have this frame in place, I'm going to take out the stroke because I do not need it. I'm going to turn off the grid so that we can see what we've done. Now, if you've done this frame, just write frame done in the comments, frame done in the comments, so I know that you're with me and we're moving at the same pace. Okay, great. Now, the next thing we're going to do is to impute our hero text. Now, first of all, we name the frames that we just created. So this frame, we're going to call it hero image. And this other frame here, we're going to call it hero text. Now, if you've done that, click on the text tool, and then we're going to type the text, find. Make sure your text is aligned to the left here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and we're going to type find the right, and then click enter and say therapist for you. Now this text, we're going to change the size of the text to 50, and we'll change the semi-bold to bold. The color, remember we already saved our style, so we're going to use black rather than the 00 black. Now if you've done that, make sure to align it to the center. Just click on this and just align it to the center. Now duplicate this text, and what we're going to do to this text is to set it to 20, and then we're going to change the bold to regular. And now what we're going to do is to use our Lorem Ipsum plugin and get some dummy text that we want to add, say 3 sentences. And now we have this sentence here. So to wrap this up, just change the width size to 500 so it just wraps up, and then we can edit the size of this to say something of this nature. Now, if you've done this, I'm just going to try to edit this text so it looks like, it's okay. Now hold both texts together and then add an auto layout to it and change the spacing to 8. Now, if you've done that, rename the frame to text and then align it to the center. Now, if you've done that, just let me know. Just type text done. If you're able to achieve this, just type text done in the comments and let me know that you've been able to achieve this. Okay, great. Now, remember our buttons that we created here. We're going to use them again. So the first one here, we're going to just duplicate this and bring it right in here. And we will change the text inside to get matched, and get the other one, the other button. And we're going to change the text to fill questionnaire. Now make sure to change the color of this if you still have it as black. I think I still had it as black, so I'm going to change all the pure black. And for this button, we're just going to edit the side a little bit to what we want. If you've been able to do this for the buttons, you've been able to achieve this, just let me know in the comments, say button done. Okay, now click on both buttons and then add an auto layout to both of them. Change the spacing in between them. to 25. And now the buttons here, we're going to change, rename the frame to buttons. And then we're going to take the buttons. Okay, just undo that. The buttons and the side, the spacing between the buttons from the text, we're going to make it 25 as well. And now to this, we'll add another auto layout and just align everything in the center here. Now, if you've done that, to this hero text, we're going to add effect, a drop shadow. And now you can see that when we add a drop shadow, the first values that comes with it, it's a little bit too harsh. So we're going to change it. The blur is going to be 20. And the Y direction, we're going to set it to 10. The opacity is still too high. So we're going to change it to 10 as well. So it looks softer on the eyes. If you've been able to achieve this, let me know in the comments. Now make sure to hold the hero text and the hero image and align both items, to the center this way. And then add an auto layout to it. And then change the frame, the name to, okay, we're going to undo that. We're just going to frame this and change it to hero section. Now we're going to change the spacing because it's too far away from this. So click on this and click on the hero section and change the spacing to 154. Now, if you've been able to do this, let me know in the comments and say hero session done, hero section done, hero section done. If you've been able to achieve this, just write in the comments, hero section done. If you're lost, let me know where you're lost so I can find you. Okay, great. Rabin, great, Ewa. Good. So the next thing we're going to do, remember we want to create this animation here to change. So what we're going to do is Yukara is asking, did you frame both the hero text and image together? Yes, we framed both of them together and we named it hero section. So what we're going to do is to create a frame, just a random frame by the side. And this frame, we're going to call it component. And now what we're going to do is to take this hero section that we created, just put it right in here. I think this is too small, so I'm going to extend the size a little bit more. I think that's too much. Okay. Now for this one, I'm going to say hero section 1. And I'm going to duplicate it right there. And the second one, I'll say hero section 2. And the third one, I'm going to create another one. Again, duplicate it again. And then say hero section 3. Now what I'm going to do here is to change the image for the second and the third one. So run the Unsplash plugin. Make sure to run the Unsplash plugin. And search for happy people. And we're going to find a nice image that we can use. Let's use this image. And for the third one, we can say happy couple. And we're going to use this nice couple here. Now for this image, what we're going to do is to edit it. So we're going to click on the image here, change it from fill to crop, and then, just bring the image a little bit down. Now, if you've been able to achieve this, like the 3 different images, just let me know in the comments. Just write 3 done. Just write 3 and then write done. 3 and then write done. Great. Now, all of this, we're going to change. We're going to not change. Rather, we're going to have them as components. So click on the first one and then click on this 4 diamonds here. And that turns it into a component. Do the same thing for the second one, and do the same thing for the third one. Now, when you've done that, make sure to hold the first one, second one, and third one together. Hold Shift and click on three of them. And then click on Combine as Variant. Combine as Variant. Now, we have created this as a component. And we're just going to say hero image here. Now, what we're going to do is to prototype it. So click on the first image, hero image 1. Go to prototype mode. And then you see the connecting points. We're going to connect the first point to the second point here. Now, when you do connect these 2 points, make sure to change from on click to after delay, and change the time setting from 800 to 900, and then change the animation from instant to smart animate, and then make sure on your computer the smart animate is on ease out and the time is 900 milliseconds. So I'm going to repeat that again. After you set your hero images as components, when you click it, you click on the component icon at the top. Click on all 3 of the components and combine them as one. Now, when you've done that, click on the first one, go to the prototype mode, and then you're going to see this point here. Make sure to connect it to the next one. Now, when you do connect it to the next one, change it from on click to after delay. Change the time to 900 milliseconds. Change the animation to smart animate. And then use ease out and change the time to 900 milliseconds. Now, if you've been able to achieve this first prototype, just type P1 done in the comments. Agatha, can you tell me where you're lost so I can repeat? Great, Yukira. Very nice, Rabin. Very nice, Iwa. Okay, great. Now, if you've been able to achieve that, do the same thing for the second one. So move the points to the third, and then the same settings after delay. Change the 800 milliseconds to 900 milliseconds, and your smart animates ease out and 900 milliseconds. Now, when you do that to the second one, the third one, you're going to connect it to the first one. Now, go back to the first one. Put the same settings after delay. Change it to 900 milliseconds. Smart animate, ease out, and 900 milliseconds. Now, if you've been able to do all of these 3, just write P3 done in the comments. P3 done in the comments. Agatha, I'm going to go over how to create a component again. So for Agatha, let's say this is your hero section, and let's say this is your frame that you've created like this. And to change this into a component, just click on it and then click this icon here at the top. When you click on it, it converts to a component. Is that clear, Agatha? So now that you have that in place, what you want to do is to copy this first one and then put it back inside of your design and go back to design mode and align it to the center and make sure the distance is 154. Now we're going to check our animation if we have it in place. So what you want to do is click on your frame and then click on present. Now it takes you to the present mode. We're just going to wait until it loads and see if our animation is working. Now, Toba, why we have it as 154 is because we're going to have a search bar in between. So that's why we have a lot of space. I'm just going to change this to fit with, let's say fit the screen. So this is what we've been able to create. Let me know in the comments if you've been able to achieve this animation. Just put animation done if you're done with this. Just write animation done. If you have the same thing as I do on the screen, your animation is working, the images are changing, let me know in the comments. Just write animation done. Toba, is that clear? Toba, is that clear? Great, Rabin. Very good, Toba. You care, that's very good. Very good, Ewa. Okay, so we're gonna go back to our design. Now, like I said, we're gonna have a search bar here. So what we're gonna do is to extend this. Now, before we do that, I think there's something missing here, one element that we didn't add. So I'm just gonna add it. Click on the frame, draw a frame, basically. I'm just going to do this out here so we can see it. I'm going to add a fill to it. Now this frame is the testimonial that I forgot to add, so we're going to add it now. Now to this frame, we're going to set the width to 326 and we're going to set the height to 86 and the radius we're going to set it to 10 and then change the name of the frame to testimonial. Testimonial. Now, if you have this done, just write T done in the comments. Great. So click on your text tool and just the same thing we did before. We're going to use the plugin Lorem Ipsum. And then we're going to get like 3 sentences. Now, we're going to change the size of the font to 12. And then we will change the weight from semi-bold to regular. And then we're just going to wrap this up, say 500 and see what's there. Just put it in the center. And we're just going to reduce it. Now it's like I have a lot of text, so I'm just going to remove some of the text that, I don't need. And my text is aligned to the center and that is not what I want. So I'm going to align it to the left and then change the alignment like this. Okay, I'm calling out the numbers so you know the ones that I'm actually using, Toba. So let's say this is a testimonial from Nabel, or let's say this is a testimonial from Daniel. So we'll say Daniel here. Now, if you've been able to do this, if you've been able to achieve this, just write D done in the comments. D done in the comments. The letter D and then done in the comments. Now to the frame that we created, we're going to add some effect to it. And the first effect that we're going to add is a background blur. So the background blur, we're going to set it to 250. And the color of the frame, we're going to change it from white to F4, F4, F4. And then the second effect that we're going to add is a drop shadow. And the drop shadow, the blur, we'll set it to 10. The Y direction, we'll set it to 5. And then the spread, we're going to set it to 5% as well. Okay, let's make it 10 so it comes out a little bit. Now, if you've been able to do this, just write effects done in the comments. Just write effect done in the comments if you've been able to achieve this. If you're lost, let me know. I'm just going to go over it again. I'm going to show you the effect for the drop shadow. 10, the blur is 10, the Y direction is 5, and the background blur, the blur is 250. Okay, so cut this and then put it inside of this frame in the hero image, and then make sure to, move it to the side right here. Just position it this way. This is a lady, so let's look for a name of a lady. Okay, so I'm gonna change the name here from Daniel to say Eukarya. Okay, let's assume this is Eukarya. And we're gonna copy this. Make sure to copy it. And then also paste in here. I'm gonna find another lady, another nice lady, say Agatha, for example. This, we're gonna use Agatha. And then the third one, copy it. And then for this couples, we're gonna write, let's couple somebody up here. Let's say Mr. and Mrs. Rabin. So if you've been able to do this, let me know in the comments. Just write T done in the comments. Let me know in the comments. Okay, so great. Let's go and check our animation and see if it's there and how it looks. Okay, great. It is there and it is great. So we're just gonna go back. Okay, great, great, great. Congratulations, Mr. Rabin. You're getting lots of congratulations. To this text, I'm just gonna reduce this a little bit. It looks pretty awkward, and just edit it a little bit in there. Okay, so now the next thing we're gonna do is to create the component session for the search icon that I search bar that I talked about. And the first thing we're going to do is grab a frame and then create a frame here. I'm just going to take this out. I prefer to do it here and then put it inside of there. So, just going to change put a filter it, make it so you can see it. I will change the color of my editor a little bit. Let it be a little bit darker so you can see this clearly. Okay, now for this frame, we're going to change the name to search. And the width, we're going to set it to 1059. And then the height is going to be 64. And then the corner radius is going to be 30. Now, if you've been able to do this, please let me know in the comments. Just write S done so we can move on. If you're done with this, just write S done. Great. So now we're going to add a drop shadow to this. We're going to add effects, drop shadow. The blur is going to be 10. The Y direction is going to be 5. And then the spread is also going to be 10. The opacity rather is going to be 10. Now, if you've done that, remember this is our search bar, so we want to have a search icon inside of it. So what we're going to do is to create a circle first. So just click on the ellipse tool, hold shift, and then create a circle. Let's say this is, let's say 13 by 13. Remove the fill and add a stroke, and then make the stroke 2. Now we're going to use line tool and then create a line here like this. Make sure to set it this way. The line, change it to 2. And now change the edges to round. Make sure it's round. I'm just going to reduce this a little bit like this. If you have both objects, hold both of them. Remember what we did yesterday, and then set union, combine them both as one. And you're going to flatten this, right click and click on flatten. And that's it. We have our search icon. If you've been able to do this, just write icon done in the comments. Icon done. Now take note, we're going to change the black color to the absolute black, to the black that we want to use. So now we have this. Make sure to cut it and put it inside of our work. Now what I want you to do to the icon is we're going to set the constraint for the icon. So first, set it to center, and then set it to center on both sides. Now, if you've done that, what you want to do is to, if you're using a Windows PC, hold Control and Alt and click on G. Now that creates a frame. Rename that frame to search icon. And then we're going to change the size of the frame to 24 by 24. So now we have our search icon. Okay, the reason why we flatten it is to turn it into a vector. Ewa. That's why we flatten it, to turn it into a vector. So if you've been able to do this, if you've been able to achieve this, just write frame done. The size of the circle, I already flattened it, so we cannot see it anymore, but the circle should be around 15 by 15. Let's say it shouldn't be more than that. Let's just check it. 15 by 15 or 13 by 13. It shouldn't be past that. Yeah, it's around 13 by 13. So now we're using a frame because every icon needs to have a bounding box. Every icon needs a bounding box, and we're using a frame to create that bounding box. So now that we have that, if you've done it, just write frame done. Make sure to align this to the center. And then we're going to write the text, find a practitioner inside. So find a practitioner inside. If you've written to find a practitioner, just let me know. Just say P done in the comments. Great. So we're going to change the font weight to medium, and then we're going to change this to 14, and we'll hold both of them, and then create an auto layout, and make sure the auto layout we change the alignment to the center, and the spacing I'm using is 14. So if you've done that, just write A done in the comments. A done, so we can move on. Okay, great. Now the next thing we're going to do is to create a second icon, and what we're going to use is the pen tool. So just pick the pen tool. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Now hold shift and make a point. Click on the point. Make sure you're holding down shift, and just a few lines away, make sure you're holding shift. Now take note, the if your sides are sharp, take note the corner radius should be 0.5, and then make sure the corners are rounded. If you've done that, please let me know in the comments. Just say A done. This is an arrow, so A done. Now the same thing we did to the previous icon that we created. Okay, I'm going to go over it again. Now click on your pen tool and take a spot. Just click on a spot. Make sure you're holding shift. Make sure you're holding down shift. Eukaria, if you've been able to achieve this, please let me know. Now, if you've got this, let me know in the comments if you have got this. Okay, so the same thing that we did, we're gonna hold Alt and Control, and then we're gonna change. We're gonna put a frame to this, and we will change the frame to 24 by 24, basically. Okay, you draw all shapes. The reason why we're holding shift is because we wanted to we want to get the points. Like it's easier to get a point. Like if you hold shift, it's easy for you to get the points. Because let me show you this. If you're not holding shift, say you can just draw freehand and draw the same way. But if you hold shift, let's say you hold shift, then you can get like a good 45 angle and good, it just shows like if you're holding shift, then it shows. Do you get that? Yukira? Do you get that, Ewa? Okay, good. Toba, I know you're looking for the shortcut and you want to go get a plug-in, but you can also learn to do this. So if you're working in a team where you have to create icons, you should know how to use the pen tool to create icons and any kind of icons that you want to create. So yeah, you can use a plugin to get the icons, but you can also learn how to create them. All right, so if you've got that, we're just gonna do the same thing that we did before. I'm just gonna zoom out here. And I'm gonna flatten this. This is a vector already. Make sure you set the constraint to center and center the same way we did it. And then the frame, make sure you change it to 24 by 24. Now, if you've got that, uh, we're going to change the size to 1.5, the stroke to 1.5, so it's a little bit thicker. Now, if you've done that, make sure you change the name of the frame to arrow icon. I'm just going to delete this because we don't need it. And then I'm going to get this icon right here. And I'm going to place it inside of this frame, the search frame. I'm going to take it to the extreme end here. So if you've been able to do this, if you've been able to do the arrow, just let me know. Just write arrow done in the comments so I know that you've been able to get it. Okay, great. Now we're going to add an auto layout and make sure the auto layout is set to the center and then align everything to the center. Now, if you have this done, we're just one step ahead. What we're going to do is to duplicate this. So this one is going to be search defaults. We're going to change the name from search to search defaults. So this is how it's going to be on default. And then when we click it, we're going to have search clicked for the drop down menu. So when we click it, of course, this icon is going to change position. So we're going to change it to -90, -90. So it's facing down, you know. And what you're going to do first is just duplicate the search here, duplicate this, take out everything inside of the frame. Now, if you've been able to get to this point, just let me know in the comments before I move on. Just say done in the comments. If you've gotten up to this point, just say done in the comments. Okay, great. Now for this one, we're going to set the height to 174. And we'll change the radius to 20. And then the spacing in between, we're going to change it to 5. Which part should I repeat, Rabin? What part do you want me to repeat? Okay, good, great, you got it. Okay, so now we're going to create the labels that we want to put inside here. And again, just get your frame, draw a frame. And this frame, we're going to say label 1. We're going to type this as label 1. And the size of this frame is going to be 805. Let's say 805 by 44. And inside of label 1, we're going to have a label. So just write label inside. And make sure the text is typeface is popping. It's set to medium, and we change the size to 16. And then align it to the center. And then the spacing from the label to the left is 65. So we're just gonna move it 5 blocks to the left to make it 60. And now this first label, duplicate it. Make sure you duplicate it. And we're gonna have label 2. Now the color of the second one, we're gonna change the color of the second one to F1, F1, F1. And for the first one, we're going to take out the fill. It's going to be without color. So now we would turn all of this into a component, create the first one as a component, and also turn the second one into a component. Now, if you've gotten up to this part, just write C done. C done. So I know that we're all on the same page. Great. So we're going to combine these two components together. Just click both of them and then combine as a variant. And we're just going to say, name this as, say, H hover or something. H move. Yeah. And now we're going to prototype this. So for the first one, click on it and then go to the prototype mode. Now connect the point from the first label to the second label. And then change the smart animates to instant and change the on click to mouse enter. Click on the second one, connect the point to the first one, and then change the on click to mouse leave, and then make sure it's on instant. Agatha, this is how you, for Agatha who's asking how we combine it. So let's say we have this first one and the second one as two components. Let's say this is component 1 and this is component 2. Now you click on component 1, hold shift and click on the component 2. And then over here on this panel where you have variants, you have combine as variants. Click on combine as variants, and that's how you combine it. If you got it, Agatha, let me know in the comments and say I got it. Okay, great. If you're done, if you're up to this point, just say H done. If you've gotten up to this point, say H done in the comments so I know that you're with me. Great. So now you're going to take out this first one, which is label 1. And for label 1, we're going to put label 1 inside of this frame, which we created. We're going to show the prototype when we're done. So put the label 1 in here. And what you want to do is to make label 1 to the extreme. We're just going to adjust it a little bit because the size is short. So we're adjusting it to the end. Make sure to duplicate this into 3. And then for the first label, we're going to write find a therapist. And then the second one, we're going to write find a coach. And then the third one, we're going to write matching service. Now, if you've got that, make sure to hold all 3 of them. Create it as an auto layout and make sure the spacing is 2. Then align it to the center inside of the search click frame. Now for Ewa, who is asking the click for the label 1, go to the prototype mode and then connect the points to the second one to label 2. And when you connect it, change the state to mouse enter and then change the animation to instant. Now for label 2, connect it to label 1 and on the prototype mode, make sure it is mouse leave. Remember the first one is mouse enter and the second one is mouse leave and the animation is instant. Now if you've got this to this point right here and you have all of this written, please let me know in the comments. Just say T done in the comments so I know that we're all on the same page. I'm going to change all the black text, all the absolute black to the black shade that we want to use. And now for the search default, turn it into a component and then make sure you you frame both frames here together, this and the one at the top. Make sure you put them together as one, and then we can just name it search. Clicked, and then create it as a component. Now combine these two as a variant, and then say search component. Now for the first one, go to the prototype mode and then connect it to the second one. Okay, what we want to do here is to click on the icon inside rather than the entire frame, but the icon inside, and then connect it to this frame right here. Now the animation, we're going to change it to Smart Animate. And then connect this other one, this icon in here, to the other component here. Now, if you've been able to get up to this point, please let me know in the comments and say done. If you're lost, let me know in the comment also where you're lost so I can be able to find you. Okay, great. So now we're going to move this search icon here inside of our design. And we're going to go to the design mode and make sure it's centered. And all of this components that we've created, we're going to put it right in here. Just keep it right here. Now we're going to check our work if what we've created is working. So just click on present. And we're going to change this to fit to screen. And now we have this here. If you've been able to achieve this, just let me know in the comments and say P done. In the comments, just say P done if you've done it. Now, one thing I want us to change is the animation here. So we're going to change this from Smart Animate to Instant. And we're going to do the same thing to this one right here. So we're going to change it from Smart Animate to Instant. And then let's see what we've got. So I'm going to just reload it again. Now, if you're able to get the same thing as me, if your animation is working, if your drop-down menu is working, just write drop-down done in the comments. Drop-down done in the comments. Great.